Well, hey everybody, good evening. It's pretty cold here on a wintry June evening, but I just wanted to show you what happens when you forget to put the spacer in your rear wheel. Right, now I've got the bike up on a stand so I can spin the back wheel like that and sort of show you what sort of happened to me. Now down here, I've used my trusty old Phillips screwdriver and I'll point out the spacer, and there it is there, or there if you like. I don't know if it's easier to see, but it's a tapered shaped thing, and where it goes in through the oil seal and presses against the bearing is the straight piece of shaft, and then it's flared out so it matches the same diameter as matches the same diameter as the caliper holder there. I don't know whether we can, yeah, here we go. So there is the, hang on, just to move this camera a wee bit. I've got it on a tripod and I'm just not doing very well. Right, yeah, you can see the oil, not the oil seal, the spacer just there. And if we have a look up here, we get a little look at the caliper, and it's got a very neat groove in it just there that I carved out with the heads of the bolts there that hold the rotor in place. And so what happened was I forgot to put that spacer in when I changed the chain and sprocket and put the wheel back on. For some reason that spacer just vanished, and it was hiding under my workbench actually, and I missed it. I just wasn't thinking, put it in, I was in a hurry, and I remember thinking at the time it went together very easily, very quickly, but anyway, so that was it. Now, you'll notice up here on the calipers, the brake pads themselves, I'll just move the camera in there. Sorry for being so wobbly. So you'll see that these are brand new brake pads here, and they hold the disc quite nicely, and the disc runs between them just like that, no problem at all. That's how it's supposed to work. And it's all no problem. But when I forgot to put that spacer in, my pads were already about half worn, and it's another reason why it went together so easily. And so off I went, and the wheel stayed exactly where it was supposed to stay for the best part of 500 k's, until eventually the outside pad, no, I think it was the inside one of them anyway, one of these pads fell out. It was still connected by the pin here, but it fell off the step in the front where it just sits on a little step, and it fell off, dropped down, and then all hell broke loose because it made a hell of a racket and got caught up in everything, because I was going pretty fast and I was actually in a corner when it happened. And I didn't feel much. I just felt the back wheel just sort of lock up for a split second, and then it seemed okay, and I thought, oh yes, got it right. And I didn't bother to stop and look. And eventually, after about another 10 k's or so, I went to put my foot on the rear brake, and it just wouldn't work because, of course, the pads weren't gripping. So I stopped, and this is what I found. The wheel had moved over. Get back here a bit. The wheel had moved over that way to the left, because obviously the spacer wasn't in there. And once those pads had dropped out, there was nothing to stop the wheel from moving. So all the time that I did that 500 k's without the spacer, and it was fine, was because the disc was being held between the pads here. But of course they were wearing the whole time, and eventually they wore away so much that the pads had nowhere left to sit on their little perch at the front, and they fell off. And then of course the wheel moved, and then it gouged out that channel there. You can see with the heads of the bolts there, gouged out that channel there. And the disc itself, or the rotor itself, got pretty chewed up, but I didn't, no, well, the biggest problem was I didn't think I could afford a new rotor. So I looked at it, and you can see it's pretty awful, but it doesn't, and you can feel the grooves in it. But yeah, I decided not to change it, purely because of the cost. So I put the new brake pads in, and I've now done about 80 k's on it, and tried the brakes, and they were no good for the first 20 or so k's. They were terrible. The brakes hardly worked, and I thought I was going to have to change that rotor. But now I've done 80 odd k's in it. The brakes are working really, really well, and so I can't see the point in changing that rotor. Now I've since found out that I can get an aftermarket rotor for 95 bucks. It's 95 New Zealand dollars, which is pretty good. And the same rotor fits 990s too, coincidentally. Anyway, it's not a big problem to get one. It's not a pedalled one like this, so it doesn't look as pretty, but you don't need a pedalled rotor on the rear. In fact, the rear brake doesn't get a lot of use, and it certainly doesn't get hot, so it doesn't need it. And the caliper holder, or the caliper mount, vacuum cleaner just fell over. The caliper mount has got enough meat on it in here, so it's still strong enough, still perfectly strong. So, and that just holds, well, helps hold it all together. But yeah, there's enough there. It's fine. So now, if I spin the wheel, it still works. Still stops it okay. And you might think, oh yeah, it's because it's up on a stand, it's sitting under no weight. But I've tried it on the road, and it's fine. Works good as gold. So I'm tempted not to do anything about the rotor. The inside face is nice, it's nice and smooth. But this looks a bit nasty, but still works. Anyway, the worst it can cost me is another set of brake pads if it all turns nasty. But I'm just going to leave it for now and see how it goes. But lesson learnt, when you're putting your rear wheel back on after a tyre change, or for some other reason or a puncture, some other reason that you've had to remove the wheel, then for goodness sake, make sure you put the spacer back in. So there you go. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've learned something today. I certainly did, and it was pretty embarrassing when it happened at the time, although I managed to get away with convincing my mates that it was the wheel bearing collapsed. It wasn't. The wheel bearings are fine. So you live and learn. Learn something every day. Anyway, see you later.